of Justice of the United States back in the business of justice. We will double the Civil Rights Division and direct law enforcement to counter this extremism. We will hold social media platforms accountable for the hate infiltrating their platforms because they have a responsibility to help fight against this threat to our democracy. And if you profit off of hate, if you act as a megaphone for misinformation or cyber warfare, if you don't police your platforms, we are going to hold you accountable as a community.
What's up, everybody? It's Ryan Weaver. I am on the Don't Unfriend Me show, otherwise known as The Dumb Show, with host Matt Spear. You guys can find the show at The Dumb Show on social media or thedumbshow.com.
Do you want the truth? Are you tired of being so confused? You feel like you're more f***ed up than the lies on the evening news? Well, just step right in. We can talk about it all this.
Welcome, Don't Unfriend Me Nation. Matthew Spear from the Don't Unfriend Me show. Good to have you here. Kamala Harris. I guess that ministry of truth that Joe Biden wanted to implement looks like it's going to come to fruition. You know, it's interesting when we go throughout history. I can think of 10 leaders off the top of my head that all sound a hell of a lot like Kamala Harris. Adolf Hitler. We all remember Hitler, the crazy Austrian man. He wanted to control all media. He burned books, criminalized anti-Nazi speech to suppress dissent. Yep, Adolf Hitler killed 11 million people, but I don't think she's quite there yet. There's 80 million Donald Trump supporters. That's a lot of people. It's a lot of carts and a lot of gas chambers. Joseph Stalin, Soviet Union, he banned non-conforming literature. He executed dissenters and used media for propaganda, state-controlled media. We remember the Maoists. Zedong from China destroyed reactionary books. He persecuted intellectuals and enforced state ideologies. Kim Jong-un, also North Korea, somebody, little rocket man, restricted access to foreign media, still does, with harsh punishments for consuming non-approved content. No iPhones or any Western civilization is allowed in that country. How about Fidel Castro? Cuba nationalized media, shut down independent newspapers, and imprisoned dissenting journalists. Does all sound familiar? How about the Ayatollah Khomeini from Iran? Banned Western culture, censored media, and targeted critics under theocratic rule. Let's not forget Che Guevara. They all wear him on the t-shirt from Cuba. He was Castro's right-hand man, and Guevara helped suppress dissent, imprisoning and executing those labeled as counter-revolutionaries, including intellectuals and political rivals. Oh, and let's not forget he threw homosexuals off of roofs. Sounds like a leftist. Vladimir Putin, you know, the one who endorsed Kamala, restricted press, freedoms, targeted independent outlets, censored anti-war speech, killed journalists. Now let's go ahead and bring it a little closer to home. People who are on the path. Justin Trudeau from Canada. He pushed for laws to regulate online content and suppress hate speech or misinformation. Took measures to freeze bank accounts of protesters during the truck convoy. Punished dissent. Don't you remember when the Mounties ran over protesters? Do we really want Kamala Harris to be number 10? And if I'm so far from off base, why does the left idolize some of these leaders and teach their ideologies en masse? The leaders I listed, Hitler, Stalin, Mao, Kim, Castro, Khomeini, Putin, Trudeau, and now Harris, all use censorship to silence opposition and control public discourse. When governments start dictating what can be said, heard, or read, they begin to erode the very freedoms they claim to protect. Don't you remember our democracy? Well, what type of democracy will we have without speech? We will hold social media platforms accountable for their hate and infiltrate their platforms. Sounds like a noble intention, but it follows a dangerous path. Historically, the first step in censoring free speech has always been to label certain ideas as extremist or hateful. Then they go after the guns. But before that, once the authorities control what constitutes hate or misinformation, it becomes easy to suppress not just dangerous speech, but any dissenting voices at all. Doubling down on enforcement against supposed cyber warfare or misinformation can quickly transform from targeting genuine threats to criminalizing dissent, just like past leaders who manipulated censorship laws to cement their power. Governments today can exploit these regulations to shield themselves from criticism and consolidate authority. We can't afford to repeat history. When we allow the state to determine that speech, or certain speech, is unacceptable or acceptable, we start down a slippery slope where freedom of expression is conditional. The next step could be the suppression of any views, and that looks like where we're headed, that challenge those in power, just as we've seen in totalitarian regimes. In a truly free society, the government should protect our rights to speak openly, even if it means hearing ideas we disagree with. Censorship, no matter how well-intentioned, always risks becoming a tool for tyranny. And if you don't believe me, words matter. Maya Angelou said people will remember what you say, but they will always remember how you made them feel. Well, in today's internet, we get to do both. Listen to this.
I intend on extending a tax cut, repealing that tax bill they just passed. And also looking at estate taxes are going to have to go up.
Everything from a 70 to 80% tax rate.
I think that's fantastic. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
She was big on defund the police.
For too long, the status quo thinking has been you get more safety by putting more cops on the street. Well, that's wrong.
She was the border czar. She doesn't want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border.
I am in favor of saying that we're not going to treat people who are undocumented and cross the border as criminals. That's correct.
Abolish ICE.
Yeah, we need to probably think about starting from scratch.
She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had. A horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad.
Bidenomics is working. It's working. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away, so stop with the continuous lying about this stuff. We have to have a buyback program, and I support a mandatory buyback program. My agenda includes attempting to get Congress to act, but if they don't within the first 100 days of my administration, I'm going to take executive action. Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private health care options.
I believe it will totally eliminate private insurance.
Let's eliminate all of that. Let's move on.
The truth is, when people tell you who they are, believe them. And in this case, you can trust that about Kamala Harris. But little else. Folks, thanks for watching the Don't Unfriend Me Show. We'll be back on tonight at 7 o'clock. Thanks for watching. Stop on by The Dumb Show. You can get some cool stuff like this shirt. You can get some coffee, some mugs, all of that at thedumbshow.com. Like I said, myself and Olivia will be on tonight. We can't wait to see you. And take care of each other. And remember, please vote. Bring your friends. Bring your family. Unless they're voting for Kamala, and then, well, yeah, the answer is no. Just leave them. Don't call them ever again. No, I'm kidding. You can bring them too.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me Show with your hosts, Matt, Leroy, Amy, and Olivia. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on all major social media channels at The Dumb Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.